Hello friends and family, you're welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick and I'm happy to meet you today. In this video, we are going to talk about how to enhance component routing parameters using query strings. Maybe if today is the first time of you hearing query strings, you'll be asking yourself, what is query string? If that's so, then query string, it is a one way of passing data from one component in another. This cuts across in Blazor application and other frameworks as well. But this time around, we are focusing on Blazor. So how do you communicate data from one component to another in a routing form? That is when we can use query string. You know, there are so many ways of doing that. Query string is one of them. Okay, so today we're going to see some enhancements made to query string parameters in Blazor. This is not actually new in .NET 8 because this was introduced in .NET 6 way back in .NET 6, but I think most of us have been using the old one. I'll take you through the old one and now I'll also take you through the new one, and you compare both. You're going to see that the new one is very simple and it is easy to implement. It doesn't need a lot of code, just 2 lines of code and boom, you are done. I'll introduce you to that, don't worry. Now, before I jump into this, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and also hit on that bell, as you can see down there, so you never miss out any of our upcoming content of this channel. I have also started a project that is e-commerce, and I have the first one completed. It is in a video description. I also put it there so you can also watch that too. When this video ends and you've learned something new or you are okay with this, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you want to show an appreciation by buying me a hot coffee, I also accept it. Yeah. And please check the description. I have the link over there. I do offer training sessions for people who are interested in Blazor or .NET technologies, talking about Blazor, which is a WebAssembly and server, .NET, .NET Mari, and now Mari Blazor Hybrid, and also web service. That is known as a web API. So if you're interested, check the description as well. I have an email there. You can just hook me up. Maybe I'll leave the video source code at GitHub, and I'll also put the link under the video description. So without much ado, let's jump into the Visual Studio. As you can see, it has been opened already. And we're going to see how to handle 8 query strings in the old way. Then we come to the new way, which was introduced in a way back to framework of 6.0 upwards. So I have my Visual Studio open and I have a project created that is actually a Blazor WebAssembly. What I'm going to show you here cuts across, so you can use a query string in Blazor WebAssembly or Blazor server application. Okay, so let's first go through with the old method. Now there are several ways of making this happen. I'm going to choose one. So this is going to be the one that we used to do. Then aside from that, I'll show you the current one that I'm talking about. You know, this is not actually the current one, but for those who don't know, it is a current to them, right? Now, let's see. So I have this. If I go to Solution Explorer, I'm going to have this folder as pages, and we're going to be using the home page and now the counter. Okay, so let's change this as a parent. Maybe you can change this as a counter to your chat component, or you can maintain this as it is. You can maintain it here. Okay, so we're going to send data in the form of a query from the home page to the counter. So the home page is going to be the parent, and now the counter is going to be the chat, or the home page is going to be the sender, and now the counter is going to be the receiver. All right, good. So now we have that in mind. Let's see. So first, let's rename these components, and I'm going to say this is going to be a parent. Let's say this is a parent component, and I'm going to show you 2 ways. So the first one, let's say this is an old one, so it tells you that's the old method that we used to do. Okay, so let me say old parent. Okay, and I'm going to have the lookup with the counter as a old child as well. So old child. Okay, this is just a naming that I'm using for my component for you to get the better understanding. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you want to perform this query string, passing of data through query string, you need to create an old child or old parent component. No, you don't have to do that, okay? This is just for this lesson. Okay, now we have this, so I'm going to change this to old child. Then the old parent is going to be the home page for this. Okay, so let's maintain it as the home page. Okay, so let's clear this. In order for you to understand this better, I would like to create a form. Let's say you are creating a form, and aside from, if I click on maybe save form, I want to submit this data from the first component, that's the old parent component, into the chart component. Then we go in there in the chart component and I receive the form data. Okay, we can use a whole lot of tabs to do that. Okay, here we're going to use a dictionary which comprises of the key and the value. So we're going to have the key and the value, which is going to be the model name and the values. Okay, so let's go to the solution here and let's create a folder, and maybe we're going to name this as product. So let's have this created, a class created, and maybe the name of this is going to be product, whereby I'm going to have maybe product ID, product name, and maybe an amount. So let's have this, and there's going to be an ID. You're going to have maybe product name, so there's going to be string, and there's going to be name. Then let's have one more, and there's going to be maybe decimal or so, and there's going to be an amount. Okay, so we have these properties. So this tells you that you can create a property as a model and then pass it to a query parameter or as a query string to another page. Okay, so we have this. I believe you have this class created. You can also change this product to even something else that it has come to your mind. You can put a name in here. Okay, so now we have this. Let's go to the old parent, and that is the sender component. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We have to create a form whereby you're going to pass in this data. All right, so let's have that code. Then maybe you're going to say product. Then I'm going to say my product equal to new. So you create, we instantiate it. Then we can now create a simple form to handle that. So we have an edit form in here. Okay, so now let's have the model. So this model, you are referring to this my product. Then let's say unsubmit. So with unsubmit, we can have access to maybe send to child, something like this. Now we come in here and I'll create this method. So we say this is void. We create a method here. And now let's have the input. The first one is an ID. So we're going to see input. Is it number or so? I think input number. So let's have this. Let me pause this and create this component to handle the properties here. All right, so this is just a small cheat. Okay, so this is what I have. It's just an edit form which has a model of the instance of the product that we created. We have on submit. If I click on this button, I want to get this method fired. And we have the ID for the input number. We have the input text, and we have the number for the amount. And this is what we have. We have a button as a submit type, which is going to submit to this method. And that's what we have defined in here. Okay. So now that we have this, we can run this and see the interface, how it looks like. It's very beautiful, simple one. Let's see. All right, so this is what we have. You can see we have an ID, name, amount, and now there's an amount and our name. Okay, so if I click on this, you want to gather the whole data here, and I'll send it to the chart component. And now in order to do this, you're going to be using a dictionary parameter. So we're going to use a dictionary which comprises of the string or the key value pair. Okay, so why is this useful? This is useful when you want to send a single data or multiple data. That's a complex data. Example is a model. You can also send one data type such as integer or a string, okay, or Boolean expression, or maybe a decimal, etc. You can send one in that. So using dictionary, it supports a single data and also multiple data too. So maybe you can try hands on that and see. Now let's go in there and I'll write the code behind this. If I click on this button, what should happen? Let's see that. So let me just give a space, send to chart, and that's fine. Now in here, the first thing that we're going to do here, we're going to create an instance. So let's say this parameter. So it's equal to, we have a new dictionary. And now with the dictionary, it comprises of a string, and that is a key that's going to open. And now what is the value? The value here, it is an object. So this object could be any form, it could be a model, it could be a data type. So that is an object here. Now, once you have that, we are going to reopen like this. And in here, we are going to specify the object in here. Okay. So here, as you can see from the dictionary, it has the string and now the value. We're going to also provide the key and then the value here. The key must be string because you said the key must be string. And then this object could be, that the value could be any form. So we made this as a globalized. So here going to be a container which is going to contain everything. But the key must be a string. That is what we said. Okay, so in here we first have a key. And then the key is going to be maybe, let's have a look. We can just have access to, the first one is an ID. Then what is the value here? The value is going to be my product.id. So that is the value. Now in here, we're going to make a duplicate of this. And now let's have a look. The next one is going to be name. And I'm going to say my product dot. I know you know what I'm going to write, isn't it? That is a name, isn't it? So the last one here, it is. So add it and let's move on. And that's going to be an amount. And I'm going to say my product dot an amount. Okay, so this is what we have here. Now Control K, you can format it to one. So this is what we have in our dictionary. They're going to use as a query string. So it's going to formalize it or format this. Now in forming this, you're going to have an ID, which is going to respond to the value here. You're going to have a name as a key, which is going to respond to the name here. It's going to have an amount, it's going to respond to the amount. Okay, now once you have this set and done, we're now going there and now inject our navigation manager to have access to the navigate event. So let's inject navigation manager. And I will say this is nav manager. So we can just grab this and I come down here and we're going to say navigation manager dot navigate to. And in here, what we're going to do here is we're going to specify the same navigation manager dot. Now take note, we have get URI with query parameters. We're going for this because we're going to use dictionary to comprise of the string and on the objects you can see. This comprises of a dictionary. It's an I read only, meaning there's no, you can't apply any sort of formatting to it. You can't edit, you can't delete, it's just read only. And now you can see it has a string as a key and it has this object as a value. And that is exactly what you've done here. Okay, so let's go in for this. Now the very first thing to specify here, it is a component name. So that is a route. And now we want to go for this old child. I believe you know this old child. It is coming from this component, old child. So you can just copy this to make sure we are doing the right thing. Okay, so from that, let's specify this, the dictionary, and that's going to be our parameters. So in order to waste time, you can just go in there and I'll grab this and I'll paste it. Okay, so this is all that we need to do. And maybe we can set this to null, that's fine. Okay, now as soon as I click on this, it's going to create this as a query parameters. So it's going to be the ID and it's going to be the value. The ID is going to be the name here and that's going to be the key. We have the name as a value. We have the key as an amount and we have the amount here as what? As a value. Okay, now how do we accept or receive this? Let's try hands on it first. So first of all, let's click on run. Let's run this again and I'll try to click on this button, pass in something, and let's see the formation, how it's going to formalize in the address bar. That's fine. We have it set and open ready now. So let's pass in the ID of 1. Maybe we have the name as, let's use Netcode-Hub. So, and let's have an amount in here, 1, 2, 3. We have this amount. So 1, 2, 3, that is fine. If I click on send, let's see, you can see we have the old child, that is a route here. We have the ID as 1. And you can see that we have, I don't know, I can't zoom that. We have the name as Netcode-Hub. We have an amount as 1, 2, 3, isn't it? Now we can see we have navigated to the chat component. So here, how do you retrieve this from the query? how to retrieve them and now store them here. So we can perform another action with this. Let's have a look on how to do that. So let's navigate to the old chart. And now in here, as soon as the page loads, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to create, let's clear all this because we don't need any here. Okay, so maybe we can have access to my product, and let's have say product, then my product. So equal to new, we instantiate it. Now when the page loads, so we're gonna have override and uninitialized. You can use this method so that it gets populate as soon as the page rendered. Now the very first thing I'm going to do here is let's have access to, we can use, okay, so let's use this my product because we've assigned it here already, so we can do that. But first of all, let's get the URI. So var URI is equal to, take note, this is an old one, the one that we used to do. Okay, so equal to new, then you can see you have this URI, and now let's pass in this navigation. So we have to inject this. Let's go in here and now grab this navigation manager and let's paste it somewhere here. So you can just grab this, and in here you can say navigation manager dot, you're gonna have access to this URI. Okay, so we store the URI here. Now aside from that, let's go in there and now make some extraction. Let's pick the query string from the URI that we have. So we're going to say my product. So my product.id. Okay, so this equal to, then we're going to have HTTP utility. We can use this utility. And I think this is coming from this namespace control period. It's coming from this system.web and dot. We're going to have access to pass. So you see pass query string. And now in here, we specify the URI dot query. So, well, there's a query URI dot. You're gonna have access to this query. And in here, we want to, when we get the URI, we want to filter. You want to get this. You want to get the type. So we're gonna use get, and now we're gonna specify the name in here. So what is the name? ID. Okay, so we specify the ID, we save it. But why are we having this? It is saying that I cannot convert this string into ID. So it means you have to convert the value here into an ID so we can cache it here or store it here. So for now, let's have our string, and this is an ID. So once you store this as an string value here, we can go in here, and what we can do next is we're going to say my product ID is equal to, so we're going to have int.pass, and we can specify in this ID. So it's going to store this as an ID onto this. Maybe one thing that we can also do here is we can, since we have this, we can actually copy this, okay, and cache it here. So we're going to say this is a HTTP utility. Let's say utility URL. Let's put that utility URI. So it's equal to, then let's store this here. So we just have to grab this. We grab this, and now with this, we just have to say .get. So we get the ID section. I believe this is very simple, isn't it? Because we're going to do it so we finish the whole properties in the model. Yes. So once you have this ID, we can just go in here and specify the next one as a string. So here we're going to say my product. Let's grab this. So dot, then you're going to have access to name is equal to, then let's see HTTP utility URI. We're going to copy this, then dot, and you're going to have get. You can see that we have it. And now let's specify the key here, that is the name. We're going to do same. And this time around is going to be amount. So this amount, you have to also do same to this. And that's what you're going to do here. Let's store it as, so an amount is equal to this get amount, and that's going to be an amount. Okay, so let's convert it into a decimal. So we can typecast it and see. So my product.amount is equal to, so we can also use decimal.parse. Then here, I believe we have this parse dot, then parse, we have that. Then let's pass in this amount. Let's save that. So you can see we have the name, we have the ID, we have an amount in here, and that's what we have received from the query parameters. Now here, let's display it. So I'm going to have access to maybe H4, and you're going to say there's going to be an ID. Now this ID, going to say my product. Let's have at my product dot ID. Okay, so here, let's make a duplicate, and we're going to say this is name, and now this is going to be the amount. Now it's a matter of changing here to name and amount. Okay, so we have this set. Now let's run this and see. So let's refresh this. So let's try our hands on it and see. We have an ID as 1. We have the name here as Netcode. Then let's have an amount 1, 2, 3. So if I click on send, let's see. So you can see that here we're able to retrieve this from the URI in here. As you can see, the amount is specified, the name is specified, and now the ID is also specified. This is an old stuff. This is the way that we used to do it. Now let's have a look with the new one that we can actually work with this. You can see when you check this, we made a lot of code in here, okay? But with the help of the new one, all this code is going to be scrapped off. We're going to have a simple one. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so first for what we're going to do here is let's comment all this because we're not going to be using this. So let's comment it and let's push it down here, okay? All right. Now, the very first thing that we're going to do here is let's have this property set in here, and there's going to be a parameter. And here, let's have, there's going to be an integer. And now this end, let's make this as a string. And this is ID. Okay, so when we have this ID, you can just put it, let's make it nullable. And let's have the next one, so we can make a copy of this. Okay, now here is name. And we have this as an amount. Okay, so when we have this as an amount, this is what we're going to do. You know, query string, they are all strings, so it's better that you treat them as a string. And now when setting them to the model, we now convert them into the normal data type. Okay, so when receiving them, since they are query strings, you must pass in string to receive them. That's why I made an ID as string and also the amount as string. Now, when the page initializes, this is what we're going to do. We have to specify, okay, so it's better I put this on top like this, so you know it well. Okay. And after doing this, the very first thing to do here is to add a supply. So supply parameter from query. And let's grab this and also put it here. And here. Okay, when the page loads, we have this my model instance created already. So we're going to say my model, then dot ID. Okay, so let's say my model dot ID is equal to int dot pass. Then we're going to pass in this ID. Then the next one is my product dot name. So it's equal to this name. And you're going to have my product dot amount is equal to decimal dot pass, then pass in the amount. And that is all. So there's an amount that we pass in as a string, and we're going to convert this into a decimal form for us. Now this is also a string, so it's an ID. We're going to convert into an integer, and I'll store that. So this is what we are doing. Now we're going to repeat the same thing in here. Now let's save this, and now let's refresh this and see. So now let's try hands on it and see. So I pass in 1. I'm going to pass in maybe in the same Netcode-Hub. Let's pass in the amount, 0.99. And now let's click on send to chart. And now let's see. You can see that we have it here. We've been able to retrieve the ID, the name, and now the amount in here. So if you compare this code to this, which one do you think you go in for? What you need to here is to specify all of this, and that is all. And one good thing about this here is, you know, when you check this old parent, and that is the sender, you can see that these are the keys. And now when you go to the component and then click on it, you can see we have the keys in here. But you can even change the keys from this section. You know, this is a receiver, and the receiver must, the name of the receiver must match with the key. Here is a name, and that place, the here too is what? It's a name. Maybe I want to change this to customer name or maybe channel name. So let's see. Now with this, if I change this to channel name, see what's going to happen. You're going to have an error here. Whoa, I want to make it lowercase. So this is channel case. What is the channel case? Well, this is going to be. So this channel name, I think so. That's fine. So we have this channel name, and you're going to have access to this channel name over here, and we have it set. Okay, now let's try this and see what's going to happen once you have changed this to channel name. So let's refresh this. Now let's try this and see. I have an ID of 12. I have the name as netcode, and I have the amount here 56.88. If I click on send to this, you can see we did not receive the name. We received an amount and ID. The name is over here, netc, but we did not receive it because when you check this, the sender and the receiver, they do not have the same or common parameter or key name. The parent here or the sender has the name over here, but when you go to the receiver, it has channel name. So in order to handle that, there's an introduction of this that you can specify it as a cascade parameter. You know, we have to pass in this name. And now this name, it tells you that if the key or the receiver name has changed, then refer this or make a reference to the specific key that you want to extract. And that is the name. So if I check, I could see old parent, that is the name, and I make reference to the new parent here. The receiver here, why it has the name change? It has this reference made to the specific key that we want in the query string. Now let's save this and let's refresh and see what we have now. So now let's give a try once more and see. So I'm going to have 23. I'm going to have netcode. I'm going to say Netcode-Hub channel. Then maybe amount 124.88 or 87. If I click on send to chart, now we see we have it set here. All right, so that is it. I believe you've gotten the concept of this, how to use this supply parameter from query attribute. Instead of writing a whole lot of code to initialize and then grab the query string or grab the URI and now extract the section from it, using a whole bunch of code here has been simplified. Now you can use this to extract it as well. And even try to change some of the models as soon as you want to do that. That is it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you know you've enjoyed something here, please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. And let's keep in touch because new ones will be coming and they're actually helpful as well. Thank you, and I'm going to catch you up in the next video.